my loves, and welcome back to my channel. So I'm Priscilla, and in today's video we're going to be talking about how to begin your personal statement, like give a killer beginning that hooks the admissions tutors in, make them want to keep reading your personal statement. You're not the only student who's applying to that school. They've got thousands of personal statements to read, so you want something that will engage them at the very start. So number one, don't begin with an overkill statement. You do not want to start with something gimmicky. Don't start with something that's too over the top. That's what most people who don't really know how to write a good statement are going to do, and so admissions tutors tend to be looking out for those things. They tend to be looking out for people who start with the gimmicks and you don't want to fall into their trap. But the opening is your chance for you to introduce yourself, tell them why you have the motivation to study that course you're planning to study, and demonstrate your understanding of the course. So the best personal statements go straight to the point. So go into it. What excites you about the course? Why are you applying to study pharmacy, dentistry, engineering, medicine, arts? Why are you applying to study that? Don't go beating about the bush. You need to engage the reader with your relevant thoughts and ideas. Don't go overboard to the point where it's unrealistic or gimmicky. Your interest in the course is the biggest thing, so start with a sentence which captures why you're interested in studying. Show your enthusiasm, but make sure that you don't waffle or say something that is just of sensational value. You don't want that. So tell them why you find this course interesting and why you're enthusiastic about studying it. What most people tend to fall in the trap of doing is talking about what interested them when they were 6 years old. Like, they'd rather hear about what interests you now, what you're interested in now, than you saying something along the lines of, I've always wanted to study dentistry when I was 6 years old. Like, it's not very relevant. It doesn't make a good case for why you should be selected to study dentistry. It doesn't make a strong case for why you should be selected into the university, if that makes any sense. They want to know what you're interested in now, so you want to make sure that this introduction is concise, it's specific, it's relevant, and it's realistic to you. Okay, third thing, you want to avoid cliches. Okay, like, I read a couple of personal statements every year, help people with their uni applications, and I see this every time, and I don't think there'll ever be a year where I don't see someone start with a cliche. Honestly, like, I'm not saying this to shame anybody, but it's quite funny to see, because like, every year I expect at least one person to do it. You do not want to submit a final personal statement that's starting with a cliche. Please don't do that. Don't do it. I'm going to give you a couple of overused phrases, very cliche materials that you should not be using in the first line. So something along the lines of, from when I was 6 years old, or as long as I can remember. Throughout my life, I have always enjoyed, I have always been interested in, you know, things like that. It's very cliche, it's very expected, and so you tend to stand out, but not in a good way. Also, as part of this, try not to use quotations. So something along the lines of, I don't know, Martin Luther King said blah blah blah, or in the words of Aristotle blah blah blah, in the words of. Please don't do that. Like, look, what are you writing? You're writing a personal statement, okay? Personal statement. It should resonate with you. It should be about you. So don't go on Google and look for quotations to use about Aristotle said this. Nobody cares what Aristotle said, respectfully. You just don't want to do that, okay? We care about what Aristotle said, just not in your personal statement, okay? Aristotle has no place in your personal statement. Don't put him in there, I beg you. And fourth and final thing, maybe actually don't start writing your personal statement by starting with the introduction. I know this is a video that's telling you how to write the introduction right, so it's a bit counterintuitive now that I'm telling you don't start with the introduction. But look, for me personally, when I did my personal statement, I struggled a lot with my intro and conclusion. If you find you're struggling to put words together to make sense out of a good, produce a good introduction, maybe just start from the body of your personal statement, and at the end of it, you'll find that you can pull something out of that to relate to the very start of your paragraphs. When you start writing a personal statement, don't be shocked if your first 5 drafts are not good enough. I literally can't count the number of times I wrote my personal statement until I got the final one. I did a couple of drafts. It's completely understandable. I mean, Personally, I would be worried if you sent your second draft in as your final personal statement. I would be very worried if you did that. You should have anything about like 5 or more drafts before you're happy with your personal statement. So don't worry if you're struggling at the start. Leave the intro and come back to it later. One extra bonus tip that I thought I'd give to people who watched all the way to the end, because you watch all the way to the end so you do deserve it, is something called the necklace approach. It's a necklace approach. The necklace approach is basically a way of writing that connects your introduction to your conclusion. I have another video on how to write your conclusions, or I will be making another video if it's not up already. Do turn your post notifications on so that you don't miss that one. Or the necklace approach, and it's when you create a good link between your introduction and your conclusion. So what your personal statement is basically doing is telling the admissions tutors why they should pick you. It's technically a pick me challenge. It's a pick me contest. You're telling them why they should pick you over the next person. So the first thing you say and the last thing you say should reiterate why you should be chosen over the next person. When you're done with the body, when you've come up with a good intro, make sure that whatever you have in your intro is reiterated in your outro or in your conclusion. Make sure that you're given a good link between why they should pick you in both your beginning and ending statements. Reinforce what you said in your introduction and give more dimensions to it. Note, I'm saying reinforce, not repeat, okay? There's a difference between you reinforcing something and repeating something. So don't lift the same sentence you had in your beginning and put it in the outro or the conclusion just because I said you should use a necklace approach. Say something else that backs up the point you gave in the introduction, but don't say the exact same thing. So for example, if you started your personal statement by saying something that's currently motivating you to study that chosen degree, at the end of the statement, you can link with something you'd like to do with that interesting aspect of the degree that's motivating you to study it, the one you mentioned at the introduction, and say at the end what you'd like to do with that post-degree level, why you'd even like to study it post-degree level, okay? So you make a good link between what you said at the beginning and what you're leaving for the admissions tutors to essentially remember you. So yeah, this is basically what you want to do when it comes to writing a good or killer introduction to grab your reader's attention. In this case, the reader is your admissions tutor, and give a good case or make a good case as to why they should pick you over the next person. And so yeah, I hope you found this helpful. I hope that the questions you had in your mind when it came to writing an intro have all been answered. And if I haven't answered any question in this video, put it in my comment section, and I do well to reply most, if not all, of my comments. So yeah, hopefully this was worth your while, and all the best with your introduction, with your whole personal statement, actually with your whole application. I hope you get in. I hope you're happy at the uni that you get into. I hope you're happy with the course you're applying to. All the best, good luck, and get in. I'll see you in the next one.